Welcome back to another video, slightly cuddlier and rounder Ben post-prep series. We enjoyed a few days off planning. We've seen a lot of water retention added, so we're going to be back on the diet and back on the training as of this week to shift that fluid before we start what is going to be a health and a maintenance phase and then into an off season. But we want to kick this video off by thanking everyone for the support of the prep journey. It wasn't easy. I took you through the off season right until the prep and right until the show days, and every element of emotion was shared with you guys. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier, should we say. One, because of the outcome, and two, because I know I belong in the men's physique division, but three, I can spend time with family, enjoy some downtime and review how the season went. But this has been the long awaited video. The channel was built on transparency. It was built on foundations of me as an individual and me as a YouTuber essentially, and I want to be as transparent as I can be with you guys as we progress through this, and it's been the most common question. But before we do that, we want to reflect of where we began. So when we launched this YouTube series and the full channel itself, I was a lifestyle athlete in Miami, creating content across the globe in Marbella and Ibiza, and represented some good shape, but I was far off a bodybuilder. Years of dieting took its toll, and I transitioned into hybrid and being an athlete in a hybrid state for what was 4 weeks, and then quickly realized that I had a big itch, and that itch needed scratching, and that was stepping on stage back into bodybuilding. So if you rewind back to Miami, when I talked through my story and I talked around how bodybuilding isn't the healthiest sport. But this was a huge changing point for me, and like a huge turning point for me in the bodybuilding career, when I didn't realize how unhealthy it is. And I am going to say that, how unhealthy bodybuilding and competitive bodybuilding can get. Not just from an anabolic standpoint, but also if you opt for that route, what that can do post-show and what that can do in terms of eating habits and disorders as such. And I was quite transparent that post-show previously in the past I did struggle with that rebound, and I struggled with foods after and regaining structure and a plan. We've already improved that relationship. 4 or 5 days post Italy now, I'm back on plan. There's no binge eating, there's no disorders, and that's because I've learned from my lessons in the past. But we needed to scratch that itch, and in January of this year we took the decision to step back on stage. But that wasn't to step back on stage and make numbers up and just do it for a YouTube series. That was to do it for a passion of bodybuilding, a passion to turn into an IFBB pro. Now, we're not sat here today with a pro card, but we made predictions on what we wanted to achieve this year. When I sat down with Cal at the start of the year, the goal was to win a regional. We did that, and place, we said on a video with Isaac, top 3 at Amateur Olympia, but the goal with Cal was first call outs. I said this year, I want to win the Two Bros show. Yeah. Top 3 at Amateur Olympia.
Say it, bro.
Top 3, yeah.
Yeah, man.
We got top 3 at Amateur Olympia. So I could go chasing a pro card now, but I'm not, because I don't want to rush that process. I want to be ready. I want to be healthy. I want to be in a position where everything is done properly, and we do it by the book, and we do it by the healthiest way possible as such. So I last competed before this year 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, just before March 2020. And the feedback was I needed more muscle. I spat my dummy out. I didn't think I needed more muscle. I think I stepped on stage at around 77 kilogram 3 years ago. When I stepped on stage at Amateur Olympia, I was 84.5. So a lot of muscle was added. But from that transitional period of competitive bodybuilding into that lifestyle realm in Miami, in Marbella and Ibiza, I lost a lot of tissue because I dieted for a prolonged period of time. So when I revisited bodybuilding as such at the start of this year, I was pretty much around 72, 73 kilogram with good body composition. Stepped on stage at 84.5, 85. So you can see the amount of muscle that we've added in that short window there. But how I got on the last time I competed, and again, this was within the NPC, I'd never done a pro qualifier. I'd done a regional, and I finished second in a regional with Two Bros and second again in another regional with Two Bros, which were nowhere near the standard of the Royal Rumble that we did 2 weeks ago and took first place, and narrowly missed out on what was the overall, simply down to conditioning. Like, if me and Cal look back, we wasn't as sharp as what we probably should have been, but that was Cal's first time peaking me and understanding me. And far too common I see clients and athletes leaving a coach, oh, he didn't peak me right. How can you expect a coach to peak you perfectly for your first show? Fast forward a week later, Cal absolutely nailed that peak for IFBB Italy, the pro qualifier. Couldn't have been any sharper, couldn't have been any fuller. And that's because we knew what we did the first time, how to rectify it, and we did that. The bodybuilding kind of history as such is, I won a muscle model show, I won a PCA, I finished second at a two bros, and I finished second at a two bros. So we had four trophies in the cabinet. When we revisited this year, we forecasted predictions and we exceeded those predictions, and that's because we committed to each part of the phase. So the off season, we got sloppy, we embraced it, we got uncomfortable. And likewise with the prep, we embraced it, it wasn't easy. And they're the downsides of bodybuilding. You will often see on YouTube and social media, bodybuilding's glamorized. You see these Americans on stage looking the business and looking absolutely faultless. But to get there, you have to go through extreme struggle. For me, I pride myself on my appearance and how I look. I enjoy going out and wearing nice clothes. And in the off season, I was struggling in Bali when prep started. I was struggling mentally. I was putting a lot of food away. I was looking in the mirror in the morning thinking, I don't even look like myself anymore. And that's the downside of the off season for me. It's that mental strain that it has on self-confidence. You've got to go through that at some point to build a sufficient amount of tissue. Now you flip that on its head, prepping in the UK after traveling the world for a full year, sat in my bathtub back living with my mum and stepdad. I was struggling mentally. It wasn't easy, I felt isolated, and that's not because I don't have a good relationship with my parents. I do, incredible. My mum prepped all my meals, my stepdad did the same. But I'd gone from living across the world in Bali and Dubai in these beautiful countries to back living at home in my hometown prepping. And it brought memories back to that first prep that I did, and I was like, why am I in this position again? Doubting it. Should I be putting myself through this mental struggle? I came home for the first time in 6 months to not be able to take my mum out for a coffee or a breakfast, or not be able to go and spend time with my dad and his wife and do things with my partner, and it just really limited me. And I was like, this is a huge amount of sacrifice, and I'm putting myself under significant amount of stress, pressure and isolation just for this one goal of mine. But 4 days later, you realize that that sacrifice is so worth it, because you've got that end product. You've learned more about yourself in that 14-week prep than what you could probably learn about yourself in 14 years. The mental resilience, how different you're built to 95% of the population, being able to stick to that regimented regime and not move out of it. And as a byproduct of that, now 4 days, 5 days post-show, I feel $1 million again. Eating habits are in a good place, results went my way, and it was a successful prep. But there has been a circling question, visit the channel, not just a channel on Instagram. And that question is a big question, and it's a question I've purposely not answered right up until now. And people will already know the answer to that question. Are you natural or are you not? And the reason I've not answered that question until this video is because there's a lot of opinions on anabolic steroids, and there's a lot of scarcity around anabolic steroids, and rightly so. The truth is, you cannot take anabolic steroids in a safe way. You can mitigate the risk, and you can get blood work done, and you can invest in a coach who's probably the highest standard of education that you can get behind a doctor on blood panels and dosages. But the truth is, when you're chasing an IFBB pro card, there's very few people within the realm of bodybuilding who have achieved that naturally. In fact, I think there's 2. And they did that at natural shows, which is an anomaly. If they'd have gone to an amateur Olympia like I did, the truth is they probably wouldn't have got a look in. So at the start of this year, I had a decision to make. Do I want to pursue a career in natural bodybuilding, or do I want to pursue an IFBB pro card? And for me, natural bodybuilding is incredible. The people who represent natural bodybuilding are absolutely incredible. But the stress that can put on your body is also high risk as well, and when you're dieting for 25-30 weeks, your hormonal panel will always take a hit that it will take natural bodybuilders a significant amount more time to recover post-show than an assisted bodybuilder. They both have pros and cons, right? And that's the same with every avenue that you will look at in life. But the truth is, my goal in terms of my physique did not resemble a natural bodybuilder. I already had achieved my natural status of what I truly feel I could have developed from a physique standpoint. And I wanted to achieve the IFBB pro status within the next 2 years. And the physiques that I looked up to, Ryan Terry, the circle that I surrounded myself with, Andre, physiques that I absolutely adore, it meant one thing. And that one thing was to go assisted, to achieve the IFBB pro status, but also have the desired physique that I would want to resemble. And therefore, we took the actions that we needed to take. I had a call with Cal Pro coach, Cal Raystrick, who is one of the top prep coaches in the UK, who is highly educated on blood work and panels and how to understand those. Before we did anything in terms of assistance, what we did is got a full blood work done and we reviewed the panel. And the panel was healthy, but because of my extensive year of dieting to stay in shape for content, I did have a low test. Now, I'm not going to be one of those guys who says I self-prescribed TRT. I didn't. I knew exactly what I was doing. My test levels were around 14 nanomole. So if you understand anything around blood work, you're going to have your range of nanomole for your test around anywhere between 7 to 20, 7 to 28 within the natural range. So I was pretty much at the bottom end of that. I could have got that up by eating more food and utilising natural supplements, but the rate of progress that I would have made as a natural in comparison to an assisted athlete probably would have been a quarter. And I'd have probably not placed at my regional, and I would have probably not placed at my IFBB Pro qualifier. In fact, I can guarantee that I would not have placed. How do I know that? Because I was 72 kilogram. I pushed up to 97 in my off season. This is data. Data drives decisions, right? So I then added, if I went on stage at 84.5 to 85, almost 13 kilogram of muscle in a 6-month off season. We're not going to talk around the dosages. We're not going to talk around what I use, because for this channel, it's about education. And I don't want people to watch this video and think, well, if Ben took that, I need to take it to look like Ben. One day we may open up to what exactly we was taking, but we did it in the most safe manner that we could. And people will comment on this video and say, oh, he's a juice head, he's a steroid monkey now, and that's fine. You are completely entitled to your opinion. But for me, I've built an audience here who I love and I adore, who look up to me, and I want them to understand that to achieve the physique that I have now, it's beyond that natural expectation. That doesn't mean you as an individual now have to go and take anabolic steroids. But one thing that I will say is there is no safe way to take steroids. We run blood work every 8 weeks. We review the panels, we take the supplements needed to counteract any health implications. The truth is, in comparison to a lot of bodybuilders, and believe me when I say this, I took the minimal dose. And that was because I was newly exposed to anabolics. And the truth is, the longer you take them for, the more you'll have to use. But for me, I know once this journey's done, that will be my relationship with anabolic steroids over. And I can confirm that, because I'm not an individual who has an addictive personality who will become reliant on them. My laptop features in every video, and that's because my passion is coaching. My passion is becoming one of the best coaches in the UK. But I also have a passion for being an incredible bodybuilder and wanting to be an IFBB Pro within a timely manner that aligns with me having a family and having kids. And you're probably going to think that's contradictory, but there are measures in place so all of that can happen, touch wood. But these are the risks that are associated with it, and we're aware of that. But the question that kept circling around on this channel was, are you natural or not? And it was about time we addressed it. And of course, share your opinions in the comments, and I'll be willing to ask questions that are put forward. But I think for me, it was about that transparency with my viewers and my audience, and not shying away from the question, which a lot of influencers do in this day and age. You will see people with millions of subscribers and millions of followers, and there's still the question, is he natural or not? I can guarantee you 95% of your favorite influencers are not natural. But I don't want to be an influencer who's not transparent, who doesn't educate his audience, who doesn't add value. So that's the reason and rationale why we've addressed it. And I feel it will allow the content to flow more. We'll be able to talk around it. It won't be a taboo subject or a topic. We'll be able to say, right, okay, we're using this, we're implementing this at this certain stage, because the prep series will continue. And when we revisit that prep series, of course, we'll be chasing that IFBB Pro status again, and it will be on a completely different level with new muscle mass. So it's going to be important that we can take you on that journey and educate you around that and be as transparent as possible, because if you're chasing a pro card at an IFBB level, there's a high chance the individuals will be using anabolic steroids. For me, it's important to get that message out there, because I know a lot of my audience are 16, 17, 18-year-old young lads who may be at school and college and thinking, well, I'm gonna take steroids. Do not do that. Why? Because you need to completely abuse your natural potential as a bodybuilder. You need to really get your nutrition in place. And believe me when I say this, if all the fundamentals aren't in place, you're not nailing your nutrition, you're not consistent with your training, you're not recovering properly and prioritizing sleep, these steroids will do absolutely nothing. So if you're prepping for a beefer with the lads, do not touch them. If you're doing a photo shoot, do not touch them. The only reason and rationale I would touch anabolic steroids is if you have a goal within competitive bodybuilding to turn pro, because that's the only time that you'll need them. I always said that I would never use them unless it was to complement my career or unless it was to complement a goal that I knew that I could not achieve naturally. Now, genetically, I'm very good, but I knew for me, given my age and how long I've got left on the circuit, it would be almost an impossible task to achieve that. So I got everything in line, the blood work, the best coach in the game, to take that brain work away from me and prevent me making mistakes and keep my health in check so that I can pursue this dream with as much health left as possible. I'm not here to kill myself, and that's why after these shows that I've just completed, I'm not doing a massive rebound. I'm not jumping into a show in March. Next year I'll compete in August and September, and the reason for that is because we're getting healthy. The next 8 weeks will be spent in a health phase where everything is pulled out completely. We get blood work done on week 4, we get blood work done on week 8, and we review. And then we make a decision based off those health markers and those panels. Is now the right time to start growing? When playing with your health, you've got to have a structure in place, just like your training, just like your nutrition. This is not just right at week 8, increase this, week 9, do this, do that. This requires phase planning and it requires structure at an elite level. And that's exactly what you get with a coach who can control these variables. So it's a big decision, but I hope that this video has educated you in a way that you understand the direction that I've taken, why I've taken that decision. And I hope that it shows you guys that I'm honest, I'm transparent, and I don't want to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I want to be as accurate as possible with this content creation. And when chasing a pro card, I want to essentially show you guys what it takes for me to achieve that. And these are my decisions that I have taken on my own accord, but I've done with the right circle and the right support around me, but also to prioritize health above and beyond everything. I've got the right people in my corner to make those decisions. So it'd be good to hear some comments back and some feedback on people's opinions, but I feel it was a big topic that I needed to address, and hopefully it doesn't change your opinion on me. If it does, fuck it. I don't care. I've done it for me and I've done it to chase a goal. So as always, thank you for watching. I'm hoping we don't see the subscribers go down, and I hope it's helped you out in some form of way, but this is just another opportunity for you guys to get to know me a little bit more, just show that I am transparent, and this is a journey to the pro stage. So the video that will follow this is a protocol and the next steps of what we will be doing post show, and it will be in Dubai. So we'll see you then.